Hey everyone, welcome to the Dark Side of Psychology. The purpose of this podcast is to inform people about the use of psychological weapons, warfare, and how warfare works. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode. We hope to make one more next year. This episode is the Russia-Ukraine War. This episode is about how the Russia-Ukrainian War started, as well as the warfare being used and how we think it'll develop. We'll be talking about the Revolution of Dignity, the war in Donbass, and the Russia-Ukrainian War. The Russia-Ukrainian War was started in early 2020 but stemmed from a long-lasting aggression with Russia. In 2014, Ukraine was dealing with the Revolution of Dignity to restore amendments to the Constitution, remove the president, and restore trust in the government. This revolution changed the face of Ukraine from leaning towards Russia to the EU, and eventually trying to join NATO.
After the Ukrainian Revolution, Russia decided to annex Crimea, which was previously governed by Ukraine, leading to second stage in the Russo-Ukrainian War. After Russia annexed Crimea, they believed that to save the Russian people and Ukraine, they would need to invade and annex them.
What led was the war in Donbass, which was the most southern part of Ukraine, close to the annexed Crimea, where Russia founded a militant group to annex the state. After the success of Donbass and the failed Ukrainian defense, Russia decided to push farther into Ukraine and declare war on Ukraine.
This conflict escalated when Vladimir Putin decided to send troops and missiles into Kyiv, which is a heavily populated city where the major government buildings are placed. Putin soon invaded from the north, south, and east, having to tread lightly around the border countries.
This is one of the most modern, large-scale battles we have seen in the 20th century and will set the precedent for wars in the future. Both sides of the war are receiving heavy aid from the Allies to win the war, using rockets, drones, tanks, advanced guns, and tactics, as well as using trench warfare and recruiting help from other countries to fight on each side. Russia has already committed many war crimes against Ukraine, such as crimes against women, such as sexual assault, and they have also been causing genocide of the native Ukrainians opposed to the Russian people.
The future of the war seems to be leaning towards Russia using its large power and overarching control of the region. Russia also has had about 10% of the deaths Ukraine has had with their superior warfare. Ukraine still has a fighting chance using the weapons that were given to them and recruiting many men that want to help save the country. Ukraine had many victories in this war, yet they are overshadowed by the persistence of Russia.
The outlook for this war looks very grim, with Russia using large-scale weapons to crush the Ukrainians or turning back and letting the Ukrainians build back up, which is very unlikely to happen. The threat of this war is spreading into Central Europe is a threat that we have seen before, and it would likely lead to another world war, which would require more nations to protect one another.
A special thanks to Silver Sky Woodworking for their support of our channel. Without them, it would be impossible to record this. If any of our listeners need custom furniture, accent walls, cutting boards, or custom cabinets, they should head over to veridiannews.org and click the link for Silver Sky. And we're always looking for new sponsors, so let us know on veridiannews.org if you would like to be a part of our work and reach our audience with us.
Brandon, what do you think the best plan of action for the Ukrainians is?
I say spend more resources on supplies such as tanks, which has proven of good use, and maybe request aid from more European countries.
Do you think requesting more aid from European countries would lead to a larger scale war?
It depends on if the other countries want to join or not, but it just depends on if they want to help Ukraine or not.
I feel like it would just lead to World War I again, where everyone was allying with each other against each side. What do you think about that?
I think that I don't believe it would go to that kind of situation because of more strict laws for warfare, but it also just depends on what countries want to do and what plans they want to go with. Cameron, do you think Americans should involve themselves in the war?
I think if America involved themselves in the war, I think it would just escalate way more than it already is. I think it would just blow it out of proportions, and them going against the U.S., Russia, it would just add more conflicts, more country going against Russia. It would most likely lead to World War III kind of.
What do you think the outcomes would be if there was an actual global war?
There's a global war. I feel like there would be like a disconnect between countries, especially like countries in like northern Europe, like the Middle East. Just like probably oil prices would go up, food prices, everything. It'd just be bad. Brandon, how do you think the EU should handle the situation?
I think the EU should handle the situation by promoting more unification, not advertisements, but like proposals
Yeah.
and more dedication to what they want.
Like helping Ukraine?
Yeah.
Like sending more resources or men or what?
Could be both. Could be one.
Yeah, I get that. Do you think if like the EU got like pushed themselves into the war more, do you think it'd cause more conflict?
It depends because we don't know how Russia would feel about it, if they would like it or not. They may not. Not sure.
I think it would just cause more conflict with like us against Russia. It'd be like almost like a Cold War again. What do you think about that?
I think you're right. I think since we're both superpowers in the world, it could definitely lead to another Cold War, maybe, since we both carry very powerful weapons.
Just like a standoff kind of, right?
Yeah, you're right. Cameron, how do you think this conflict will end?
I think there's like two ways it'll end. I think it's either going to escalate and become like a major scale war, like including like the Israel war against like Palestine and what's happening in Taiwan. I think they're all just gonna like come together, like World War II kind of, but I don't think it's gonna like go towards World War III, because we've already been through that. I don't think anyone wants that again. But the second would be just Russia backing down and just accepting their loss, but I don't think they're gonna do that because they're winning pretty good.
After the Ukrainian Revolution,
Brandon, what do you think the best plans of action for?
Thank you for listening to this month's episode about the Russo-Ukrainian War. This war is still ongoing, and I hope to make another episode when this further develops. Tune in next time to learn about the conflict in Taiwan. Stay psyched.